All right, everyone. Welcome to the next episode of the Baseline Bums podcast.
Yeah!
It is your host, Rob, a.k.a. B-Ball Archives, and I am with my boy, AJ.
What's going on, Rob? Hey, what's this episode?
We got a bunch of fun stuff going on today. We're going to be talking Dirk's top 5 European players all time, his starting lineup. Can we beat it?
Probably.
I don't know. He's put together a pretty tough 5. Next, we're going to be talking about LeBron, Kobe, KD versus MJ, Bird, Magic. We saw this 3v3 posted on Twitter, and we wanted to address it. So we're going to be talking about who is winning that matchup, all in their prime. And next, we're going to be getting into Spurs championships. We're going to be ranking all 5 championship teams and kind of how we feel about them.
It's nice being able to rank 5 championships.
Absolutely. We are a blessed franchise.
Yes, it's better than 4.
Yes. Oh, yeah. Better than 4. And then lastly, we will be getting into our Kawhi vs. Scottie all-time player comparison. I know that Kawhi still has plenty of career left, but I think that they have done enough to kind of warrant a comparison.
I agree. It's going to be a fun one to talk about. I think a lot of fun takes are going to happen in the player comparison. But let me ask you, how you doing today?
I'm doing pretty solid. We got some coffee, we got some beer over here. We're doing well.
We got Cam in the background.
Yeah.
Cam,
shout out to Cam. Yeah, he's holding it down over here at the fort. But yeah, let's just go ahead and dive on in. Dirk's top 5 European players. Okay, so Dirk has Tony Parker, Luka Doncic, Drazen Petrovic, Pau Gasol, and Giannis. That's his 5. That is a really tough 5.
That's tough 5.
He's got a lot of really great players. When we're talking about Drazen, who's going to be able to stretch the floor and hit threes. We got Giannis, who's going to be able to defend multiple positions.
Absolutely.
We got Pau, who is so clean and crisp and silky down low.
And he sets really good screens.
And rebounds very well.
Yeah.
And then Luka, the best all-around European guard. And then we have Tony, who is the best French basketball player ever.
Yeah.
And he is going to be able to accelerate your offense and just burn by people. So this is a tough team to beat.
Yeah, and mine's fairly similar. I mean, there's definitely differences. I took a different approach to this. I decided to not go with current NBA players.
Oh, you used retired players.
I used retired players.
Okay.
And also, I wanted to have a little fun. So, I think my team's good as a collective. Okay. I think we'll definitely be, top heavy. But there's one in there that I think you're gonna like a lot.
Okay. I'm interested to hear.
So just like Dirk, I got Tony.
Okay.
Because growing up with Tony Parker as my guard.
We can't use the players.
Oh, we can't use Tony.
We can't use the players that he uses because we're playing against them.
So I can't use the Tony from Charlotte.
No. We got to use different players so that they can be playing.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
Okay, not a problem. Then scratch Tony.
Okay.
Give me Dennis Schroeder.
Okay, Schroeder.
Yeah, he's from Germany.
Okay.
We can make him the point guard, and in his prime, he was a solid point guard.
Yeah, absolutely.
And I think he can stay in front of Tony. I think. It's going to be tough.
He's got some really good athleticism. Schroeder is going to be able to, speed-wise, he could keep up with Tony. I don't know. I can see it.
Now, let me ask you, are we playing European rules or are we playing NBA rules?
That's a good question. I think that we would probably have to conform to NBA rules, right? Because, I think that...
But if they're European players, because if we're playing European rules, and that's going to change my defense a little bit, considering that they're going to be able to pull the ball off the rim as soon as it hits.
That's true. Let's go ahead and say that because all of these guys are NBA players.
Okay, NBA rules.
That they're playing
Perfect.
NBA rules because a lot of these guys their entire careers were in the NBA.
Gotcha. All right, cool. Well, so my shooting guard will be Peja Stojakovic. He's a shooter, knockdown shooter. 2-time 3-point shooting contest.
Mm-hmm.
Dude was an absolute stud. So I have him as my shooting guard, my small forward. You ready for this one? Deathless Shrimp.
Oh, dude.
Yep. Yeah. Because he was in Parks and Rec.
Yep.
Played a great role in Parks and Rec. But also, as a 3 for the Supersonics, he was a great player. He fit his role. Now, I don't know. I'll be able to lock down anyone on Dirk's team. But I'll tell you what, it's gonna be fun to play.
Oh,
It's gonna be fun for the announcers to say all their names. So it's gonna be tough for them to get all those words out. My power forward, give me Arvydas Sabonis.
Oh, that's a good name drop. Very skilled big man.
Yeah,
underrated
and the reason why he's underrated is because we never got to see him in his prime here in the NBA.
That's correct.
And by the time he got here, he was an older basketball player, and I was able to see him pretty up close, and that dude looked like a tree trunk.
Oh yeah,
like he was so big and so skilled, and he had a nice little jumper. Going back to our previous episode, he wore the wristbands, so you know he's going to be legit.
Yeah, if you got wristbands, you are
especially
a
in the
problem
90s.
out there. Arvydas Sabonis he was so good in his youth. I remember whenever he played for the Soviet Union.
Yeah.
And he went head to head with a young David Robinson. He gave David Robinson buckets.
Yep, he sure did.
And I know that was David Robinson when he was fresh out of the Navy, hadn't played any professional game at all, but still, he gave David Robinson buckets right before he was a pro. So I think that's a good call with Arvydas.
And then for my center, I got Big Z.
Big Z.
I got Big
Smooth.
Z. Yeah.
Smooth.
Zagunis
Love me some Big
Ilgauskas,
Z.
got to have him. He was a great NBA player, played alongside LeBron James. So, he definitely, I think, for the most part, before LeBron got there, he was basically the Cavs team in a nutshell. So with those five, I don't know if I'll win, but you know what? It's going to be fun because these are still very top European athletes. We'll see what happens. But, I mean, whenever I think Dirk's team, it's like, how am I going to stop Tony Parker?
Right.
That's the tough one for me.
You're absolutely right. That is a huge question mark. He's so quick. He has so much explosiveness, and people forget how good he is at finishing down low.
Yeah.
When it comes to floaters, when it comes to kind of pivoting and spinning and just finishing over a bigger defender.
For sure. Oh yeah, he was fantastic. Who are your five?
So going into my five, at my point guard, I have Ricky Rubio.
Ooh, good one.
I want Ricky Rubio. His ability to run an offense and distribute and get steals is exactly what I need for my point guard.
Yeah,
I don't
great
really
passer.
need him to. Yeah, exactly. Great passer, good at passing people open. I don't really need a lot of scoring from my point guard. And so if he's focusing on locking up Tony, which he's not fast enough to do, but he can do an okay job at it, and just kind of get rebounds and get steals, then we would be able to kind of limit Tony to a certain degree.
Sure.
And if we were able to do that, then I think Rubio, great addition. Then if I was able to pair him in the backcourt with someone like Dragic, who I have at my shooting guard. And
I like Dragic.
And so I think Dragic is somebody that you could pair with Rubio, and that he would be able to space the floor, and Rubio would find him open, and Dragic is a good shooter.
Yeah, and also he's a great defender too. Like he's actually a Tony stopper.
Yes.
So I mean, he was the one Spurs asset that got away.
Yeah.
Like because we had Tony and Tony wasn't going anywhere, and that's kind of what happened. So I think looking back on it, would have loved to have Dragic in a Spurs uniform.
Yeah.
And then every time he played the Spurs, he would just torch us.
Dude, you're so right. He had a pretty diverse skill set, and just an overall really great combo guard. So I think having him play off ball, I really, really like that. And I think at my 3, we had the same thinking. I went Detlef as well.
Did you really?
Yeah.
Nice.
I like Detlef a lot. He was one of those prototypical European 6'10" small forwards that he's one of those guys that he's gonna play mid range, shoot very well. He can hit some threes when he needs to. He's gonna get rebounds.
Yep.
There was a couple seasons where he was like, I think 19, 7, and 5 were his averages, and he was absolutely incredible, 6th man of the year.
Yeah.
And so Detlef Schrempf, definitely one of my picks. I also have Peja, but I'm putting him at power forward. I'm going with the smaller lineup overall. Peja's still 6'10", but I want to be able to stretch the floor with these shooters.
No, you will for sure.
And so with Dragic, Detlef, Stojakovic, those guys are going to hit. And my center, Jokic, is going to be able to find them, going to be able to rebound, suck in all of that attention in. And then imagine just Jokic being collapsed on, and then we have Dragic, Stojakovic, and we got Detlef just out on the perimeter.
Just
like boom,
waiting,
boom, boom.
yeah.
And so I think Giannis is going to have his hands full with Jokic down low.
Sure.
If my guys are hitting shots, my team could win.
Yeah, absolutely. That's a solid squad. That's a
Yeah.
really good squad.
Yeah.
I like your thought process on having it 2022 NBA.
Yeah.
Spreading the floor with that small four.
Yes.
Like because that's what the NBA is nowadays. And one thing that's really interesting is European players are, in my opinion, more skilled than the American players. The American players are more athletic.
Yeah.
So like whenever they come from overseas and you see their game, it's more well balanced, it's more polished. Their footwork's a little better, their passing's a little better. They do all the other things team wise that the American players just are more athletic, so it's more easy. It's easier, it's natural for them. That's why it's interesting to see European players come to the NBA. A lot of them, work out. Some of them don't work out. I understand, but for the most part, it's the going back to the potential. It's like it's not full. It's skill.
Yeah.
I like the skill part of it. I think that's a great 5. I'm surprised you didn't go Big Z.
Dude, I love Big Z, but his skill set wasn't going to be as needed because, yes, he's going to be able to stretch the floor with his mid-range shooting and get rebounding, but outside of Rubio, my team has no playmaking. And when I have Jokic,
Yeah.
I have an additional playmaker. So whether Rubio has it, he's going to find an open guy. Jokic, he can pass somebody completely open. And so his playmaking ability, it just looks way more attractive on my team than a guy like Big Z. But I still love Big Z.
Yeah, I wonder how our teams would compare.
Yeah, it's pretty close. We both have Detlef and Stojakovic.
So, yeah.
We see the value in a lot of these players.
For sure.
Well, either way you look at it, those are certainly all really talented European players.
Absolutely.
Yeah. There's really no wrong answer, and I'd pay to see all of those 5v5s.
Would you pay it here in America, or would you pay it in Europe?
I think you'd be having to pay euros on that one. Yeah, that's that would be pricey. But let's go ahead and move on to some players here in the States.
Okay.
Some all-time legends. I saw on Twitter recently there was a 3v3 that was posted that said all of these players in their prime, who would you take? And it's LeBron, Kobe, KD versus MJ, Bird, Jordan. Or MJ, Bird, Magic. Excuse me. Any team with 2 Jordans is going to obviously win. But MJ, Bird, Magic.
Right.
We're gonna talk this 3v3, kind of break it down.
Ooh, man.
Who are you taking? Just right out the gate. Just like who is looking good to you?
My initial gut reaction is LeBron, Kobe, and KD, just because they're so much bigger. Like, just KD's 7 feet tall, let's be real.
Yeah.
And then LeBron James is still like a football player in a basketball jersey. So I don't know how Bird and Magic would defend. I think Kobe and MJ essentially in a 3v3 cancel each other out. So I'm curious to know, how Bird and Magic would stack up against a prime LeBron, a prime KD, just from a strength height perspective.
Yeah, well, that's a large part of the argument.
Yeah, who's going to lock down KD, Bird, or Magic? And either way, I would imagine it would be Kobe on MJ. I would say KD on Magic, and that leaves LeBron and Bird. Maybe
That could very well be the matchup.
It's hard to make this comparison because the physicality for both these 3-on-3, they're so different.
Yeah.
They're so different. Like, you're going athleticism, you're going skills. But if you're just playing 3-on-3, let me ask you, are you playing big 3 rules where it's like make it, take it, first one to 15, or are we?
I'm gonna say, let's just say not make it, take it.
Okay.
Let's just play. You score. It's basketball rules. Other team gets it.
What would be fun to see is who gets hot.
Right.
That would be fun to watch.
Right.
Is who's gonna catch fire in this 3v3? Because whoever catches fire is gonna win the game. Like,
Yeah.
And it depends on who that is. I think with the LeBron, Kobe, KD, the 3-pointer I think makes a huge difference. So if we're not doing 3-pointers and we're just doing 1 point, that changes the argument.
Yeah,
So
that's true. That's true.
So I would say gut reaction would be LeBron, Kobe, KD. I mean, obviously nothing against Magic, Bird, and MJ.
Right.
It's just 3-on-3. You're playing half court. There's not a lot of really up and down. I just think the bigger players tend to do better in 3-on-3, especially 1-on-1. I mean, 1-on-1 wise, I don't see anyone being able to stop LeBron, and I don't see anyone being able to stop KD because KD starts getting hot.
Yeah.
Good luck.
They're both incredibly hard players to stop. Yeah.
Who do you got?
Yeah, that's exactly who I'm going with. I'm going with Kobe, KD, and LeBron. I know it feels kind of blasphemous to not pick MJ in a situation like this, but they just don't have enough defense.
Yeah.
They are, like, when I'm looking at Kobe and I'm looking at LeBron, that's 20 all-defensive teams between the two of them.
Right.
And Bird has 3, MJ has 9 first team, and Magic has none. So,
right.
So I mean, you're vastly outnumbered when you're talking about guys that have had longevity and success in defense. And so I think whenever you're talking about not being able to lock up players, that's going to limit you huge in the 3-on-3 match. And so I'm looking at LeBron, Kobe, KD, and they're going to take advantage of that
For sure.
And they're actually going to be able to have an inside game, like you said. Like KD will actually be able to post up and be able to do little fadeaway mid-range shots like 10, 12 feet, and no one's going to be able to stop that. And when you also have a guy like Kobe, he is going to cancel out MJ for the most part.
Yeah.
Like, I mean, they have the same skill set, they have the same approach to the game.
Yeah,
I mean,
like,
if they're both in their prime, like, it's 1A, 1B, but
For
it's
sure.
very, very narrow.
I mean,
so.
if MJ, I mean, with MJ, it's just like obviously anything can happen, but it's not him I'm worried about.
Right.
It's like, I mean, him and Kobe could literally just go back and forth and trade buckets all day, which is fine. But like, if Bird or Magic has the ball, or if they're on defense playing against LeBron James at the top of the key, that seems like a very scary position to be in.
Yeah, he's going to go downhill.
Yeah,
and there's
and
going
it's
to be no one to stop him.
And what, like, Magic's going to help and be the rim protector? No way.
No.
So, and even then, LeBron James's vision, whoever's open, he'll find.
Yeah.
So, I mean,
exactly. He's going to be the Magic Johnson of that team. He's going to be able to distribute, find the open guy easily. He does that now. So, yeah, I think we're both in agreement. LeBron, Kobe, KD over MJ, Bird, Magic. It's really close. I know that all these guys are absolute legends, but I just think they slightly edge them out in the 3v3.
I'd be curious to see what uniforms they bring out, because I think, like, LeBron would have Space Jam 2 uniforms, and MJ has his, like, the original, like, Toon Squad.
Oh, well, if we're going Space Jam 1 versus Space Jam 2, then that's a completely different conversation.
That's
then I'm going MJ.
I'm going MJ for sure, yeah.
Yeah, but that's a fun 3v3.
Yeah, for sure, absolutely.
Yeah. All right, I think we're going to shift gears a little bit, and we're going to go ahead and talk about Spurs championships, and we're going to rank them. We're going to go year by year, and we're going to kind of go and list our favorites and kind of talk about what made those teams special, and just a little bit of those highlights.
I mean, the great thing, like I said earlier, was that we have 5 to choose from.
Yeah.
Which is fantastic as an organization.
We are blessed.
We are very blessed. Just growing up as a Spurs fan, I'm sure Rob can attest to this too. It's just you kind of lose sight of, like, what losing's like, because we never did it. And one of my favorite Pop quotes is, Pop, like, some reporter was like, hey, what's it like to not make the playoffs this year? And he's like, did you ask me what it was like to make the playoffs for the past 22 years?
Right.
And the reporter's like, oh, sorry.
He was like, he's like, the record only became relevant whenever we missed it.
Right, exactly.
Yeah.
So, it's fun and also good to we've had our ups and downs in the playoffs as well. I mean, like we lost to the 8 seed Grizzlies when Zach Randolph could not miss.
Right.
Man, that dude was parallel to the floor and just making buckets.
Zach Randolph was an absolute bucket for a little
sure.
while.
Oh, yeah.
He was tough.
We ran into that hard. But I guess what would you rank your first one as?
I would say my number one team, I think, of that 03 Spurs team.
That's a good team.
I think that's when Tim had the finals, like that was so elite.
Yeah.
That it was undeniable. I can't remember his exact numbers, but I want to say it was in the high 20s, like 14 rebounds a game. He was putting up like 4 blocks.
I think
4 or 5 blocks almost.
In the closeout game, he was 1 or 2 blocks away from a quadruple double.
Yeah. And in fact, there was a couple of moments during that game where people thought he almost had blocks that could have gave him that quadruple double. But yeah, to me, that was a team where it was, you kind of saw the foundation starting to form.
Yeah.
That was going to lead to the success in 05, 07, and so far and so forth. And so I think that was really the precursor. 99 was a great championship, but I think 03 was much more indicative of things to come.
I mean, that was also when we absolutely dominated the playoffs. And I mean,
yes,
Tim Duncan won his regular season MVP. Essentially, he solidified himself as probably the best 1 or 2 player in the entire league that year. He was putting up just consistent numbers, like 25 and 12, 25 and 14. Like he just was Mr. Consistent during that time, and that was a great run.
Yeah, we beat the crap out of that Nets team though.
Yeah, it wasn't even close.
Yeah. It was a championship that it was very decisive.
Yeah,
and we knew it was going to happen. That Nets team was pretty solid. I did like those Nets teams.
Yeah, but Jason Kidd was kissing free throws.
Yeah, yeah. Honestly, I liked those teams. Kerry Kittles was on those teams.
He was on that team. Rodney Rogers was on that team.
Keith Van Horn.
Keith Van Horn was on that team.
Yeah. Shout out.
I think Vince was on that team too.
Vince. Yeah.
Yeah. So I mean, it was a good squad, but
yeah.
I mean, we were definitely the much superior team, and also that was coming off of the Lakers three-peat too. So we kind of bookend the Lakers three-peat, which is kind of fun to say.
Oh yeah.
And but for me, my favorite was 2014, just because of what happened the year before, and also 2014 is when that the Most Beautiful Game video came out, and it was just like how good our passing was, and it was in the twilight of some of these guys' careers. Tim Duncan was definitely on a little bit of a decline, but then Manu was he didn't have hair anymore. Tony Parker was slowing down a little bit, but that was like also the emergence of Kawhi, and we got the best Danny Green anyone could ever ask for in that finals. So
that's very true.
So we had and then also the way that we beat the Heat coming back, and like it was almost undeniable that we were going to win that championship because everyone I remember reports coming out at the beginning of the season basically saying this Spurs team is like beyond focused to win this championship.
Yes.
Because they were salty about
we had vengeance in our eyes.
Yeah, and every time we played the Heat, it was like circle, highlight, all that stuff, underline. Yep. And, I mean, I see a lot of videos of Ray Allen hitting that three-pointer in 2013, but no one wants to complete that sentence.
Yeah.
And the sentence is, the Heat got back, but they lost.
Yeah.
Which is why LeBron James is number 6. So...
Oh my goodness, we're going there again.
But for me, because just the whole thing, and as a fan, I remember being so defeated after 2013, and being mad and just I was at a bar and I met one of my friends' parents for the first time. I didn't even say bye to them. I just got up and left and kicked the chair, and I had to apologize later because I felt bad. I was like, I'm a bad sport. I should have been better about that. But for me, it was 2014. Also, I think that was when Manu had that great dunk on Chris Bosh, and it was we're supposed to win this.
Yeah. we were destined to win that. Yeah, 2014 is at my number 2.
Okay, that makes sense.
Great moments. But let's just go ahead and move on to who I have at number 3. That was 2005. So that was when we beat a really tough Pistons team.
Yeah.
So like that was a series that
it could have gone either way.
It rattled me.
Yeah.
I remember being like, oh my goodness, because like I mean you're playing the defending champs.
Right.
They still have the same entire team.
Right.
They
great coach Larry Brown.
Great. Yeah, absolutely. Just a really really all around team. So as good as we were, and Tim Duncan's still in the thick of his prime.
Yeah.
No more David Robinson anymore,
Right.
but obviously Tony and Manu are emerging, and they're kind of getting their feet underneath them at this point, and they're very comfortable out there. So this is a championship that I feel like was really well earned because of that 7-game series.
Right.
I mean,
it's so underrated.
Yeah.
It's such an underrated NBA Finals.
Yes.
And because it was, I think at the time it was like the lowest ratings.
Yeah.
But it was such a battle. It was a battle. It was two great teams in their primes, and it just went back and forth and back and forth. And
Well, it was just like the NBA was so mad that it was Detroit and
Right.
San Antonio.
Exactly.
It was two small market teams
Right.
that really weren't going to draw in a ton of views, and they weren't really mad. They weren't really super happy about it. But
Right.
it ended up being a good competitive 7-game series.
It was insanely competitive. It wasn't clear cut at all because that was still the time that they had the 2-3-2 format in the finals.
Yeah.
And so Robert Horry went off in Game 5. Absolutely went off. That's one of my favorite memories as a Spurs fan is when Robert Horry scores 24 points in Game 5 of the finals.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, my goodness. And then we lost Game 6 at home. And then we had, obviously, that's Game 7 now.
Yeah.
And, I mean, that arena was so tense, and you could feel the energy and just, the entire city of San Antonio just on pins and needles on everything. And then, Chauncey Billups, Mr. Big Shot, Chauncey
Yeah.
Billups, Rasheed Wallace, Ben Wallace down low. Rip Hamilton was scoring buckets. Tayshaun Prince was locking down Manu and Tony. So it was a hard fought series, and that's actually my number 2.
Yeah.
So
That's very understandable. That's a very really well hard fought series to win when you're looking how complete that Pistons team was for a number of years.
Yeah, and at number 3 was my 2003.
So
so we have
our top
similar,
3 is all the same. It's just different order. Yeah. And then I feel like at 4 I got 99.
I got 99 too.
Yeah, see, 99 was such a great championship just because it was the first.
Yeah.
And even though it was a lockout season, even though it was against the Knicks team that was the 8th seed, and they kind of limped in there, and they really, we didn't really think that it was going to be all that of a series.
Right.
But it was still...
It was a gentleman's sweep.
Yeah, it was a gentleman's sweep. We allowed them to have one.
I don't. Those refs were so suspect in New York.
Yes,
they were. I mean, looking back on those games and just going oh, that's how we lost. I don't like blaming the refs, but this one was
AJ conspiracy theories.
Yeah,
he's saying that series was fixed.
I wish I could say that. It really wasn't super competitive, to be honest with you, but it was the first one. And the first one was great because we finally broke through. We finally got David Robinson the championship.
Yep.
We finally got Sean. We finally got Avery. Those guys. We finally broke through. It was a small market against the big market of New York Knicks. I remember the New York Knicks, their slogan that playoff was Believe. And it was believe. Don't you can't believe in nothing.
Yeah,
because it was not competitive. It was still a fun series for the most part. But for me, there's so much shenanigans that went on during that series. If you remember in Game 5, the shot clock broke.
Yeah.
So they had to put it down in the corner.
Yeah.
And it's what are we doing here? It just felt as a Spurs fan at the time, they were trying to screw with us as much as possible and get us off our game. But we have the most level-headed franchise in, I would say, all of the NBA. Even now, I would say.
Right.
So you weren't going to frazzle us in any way. But shout out to Sean Elliott for making that great pass to Avery Johnson, just wide open. He could have easily taken it himself.
Yeah.
But Avery was open on the corner and just hit that bucket, and that bucket's now like forever ingrained in Spurs basketball history. So it was a great series in my opinion.
Absolutely, yeah. A really, really wonderful series. But and just the first of many.
Yeah, and it was the party afterwards was fun too.
Yeah.
So like San Antonio, just everyone goes downtown. They go up and down Commerce, banging pots and pans, and it was great. And I was watching it with some friends, and my parents and I were getting together, and we're supposed to go on our first cruise that summer. And so we're making like luggage tags, but like Spurs stuff. So we all had like the different Spurs things, and one of the ladies that was putting together the tag, she got so excited that she, before the game was over, was like 99 champion NBA champion Spurs, and there were still like 2 quarters to play, and she was like, "Oh, oops, sorry, I hope we win." So I had that fun memory, and then we went on a cruise, and we all had our Spurs on the first day, so you could tell who was from San Antonio. It was very obvious.
Those are all great memories. We definitely hold that championship in a special place in our hearts.
And as also Spurs fans, I don't know about y'all, but whenever I go on vacation, I always have like a Spurs day. Oh, yeah. And so like my wife and I we're wearing our Spurs shirts on this day.
Yeah, you got to rep. Absolutely.
It's fun. It's a good way. Also, it eliminates one of the days that you don't have to think about.
Oh, yeah.
For your clothes, you're like, I'm going to wear my Spurs stuff.
Absolutely. And last time I was on a cruise, I bought weed in Belize. And then the reason I bought weed was because a guy in a shop was wearing a Ginobili jersey.
Well, naturally.
And I was like, hey, Ginobili. And I walked into his shop, and the shop smelled like weed and sold me some weed. Shout out to that guy in Belize. All right. So there we go. All right. So we both have 99 for the fourth.
Yep.
And so moving on, that means we have 07 at the bottom. I mean, we played a Cavs team that was only LeBron.
It was literally only LeBron.
Everyone else was straight ass cheeks.
Think Mo Williams was on that team.
Mo Williams was good. You mean Big Z?
Big Z was there.
Yeah.
But like he wasn't gonna stop Timmy or anything like that.
Right.
I think Larry Hughes might have been on that team.
Larry Hughes was so bad.
It was just
that final series.
It just wasn't
awful.
It wasn't competitive, but we also that season we won 58 games, which tied our franchise record.
Yeah.
So with that
at the time.
Yeah. So it just didn't do anything for me, to be honest with you. Like we all knew what was going to happen. LeBron was going to score 30. No one would even come close to 10, maybe 12 points, and that was going to be the game. And I mean, we swept. So, like Tim Duncan said, thank you for letting us get this one.
Yeah.
So,
of course.
I'm happy that LeBron finally got a championship with the Cavs, but for him, I think it was a good awakening. Like, I don't want this to happen again.
Yeah.
So he hasn't gotten swept in the finals.
Yeah. That was certainly a very, very sorry team to make it to the finals. It reminded me a lot of when Iverson took that Sixers team to the finals.
At least they got a win, though.
Yeah, they did get a win, but
he had to score 50 points to do it.
Right.
Yeah.
Exactly. But yeah, so 05 or 07 championship dead at the bottom.
Yeah, it was 5. But it was just one of those that's when the conversations of is this a dynasty started.
Yes,
and
that is true. And after that fourth, people were like, "Wow, we're starting to put them in the top 5, 6 franchises of all time."
Yeah,
how is this dynasty looking?
Yeah, and then Kobe was like, "Hold my beer, let me win 2 straight real quick."
Right. He's like, "Hey, this is still Laker Nation over here."
Yeah. So, but it was great. It was great at the time, and it gave us 4, and then we got 7 years of ups and downs, but still being into the some of the top teams in the NBA. And then making it all the way to the finals in 13 and then coming back in 14, which made 14, in my opinion, it just kind of closed the circle, and it was like, all right, cool, we got one. And I'm going to be honest with you, I don't know when we're going to see another one or even sniff another one unless we get Wambi, but we'll see.
Yeah, we will have to have a completely different identity as a team, and we're going to look completely different if we're going to win another ring.
Absolutely.
But, yeah, that's a story for another podcast. We're going to finish out this episode with another player comparison. This one we're doing a current player versus an all-time legend. And we got Kawhi Leonard and Scottie Pippen.
Yep.
So let me just go ahead and go through the numbers real quick. And this is their numbers all time. So, I mean, obviously Scottie Pippen played more seasons. Right now we have Kawhi at 10 seasons, Scottie at 17. Right now the numbers are Kawhi is 19 points, 6.5 boards, and 3 rebounds. So honestly, a little bit less points per game than I would have thought.
Yeah.
But I mean, he did have a little slow start into the NBA.
Yeah, and towards the end, though, also, he probably wasn't scoring a lot of points with, like, the Rockets and Blazers.
No, that's I was talking about Kawhi.
Oh, Kawhi, sorry.
That's Kawhi.
My fault. Sorry, guys, I've been drinking a couple of beers.
No, you're all good. But then I go down to steals,
Yeah.
and Kawhi is at 1.8 all time, and only 0.6 blocks. So rounding out, we have 19, 6.5, 3, and overall, the pretty decent stat line. Overall, pretty good stat line. Then I'm going over to Scottie. He's 16 points, 6.5 rebounds, literally same rebounds. But where I'm seeing a difference is his distribution. He's over 5 assists a game. He's at 5.2 assists a game. He actually has more steals per game all time than Kawhi.
Yeah.
He's at 2 steals, and he has more blocks per game.
Right.
He's at 0.8 versus Kawhi's 0.6. So when I'm looking at this, it looks like, some people are doing something. Kawhi's doing a few things better. Scottie's doing a few things better. So in your opinion, who would you want to take all time? Scottie or Kawhi?
For me, it has to be Kawhi because, I mean, the Toronto Raptors won the NBA championship with like just adding Kawhi. Like, he basically put the team on their back, and his last second shot against Philly, his ability to win the finals MVP for the second time, coming off the 2000 the Spurs debacle essentially, and being traded to Canada. I think that has a lot of power and a lot of foundation when it comes to who would I take. I would take Kawhi overall, but it's really just going to be what do you want in your player? Like, do you need someone like a Kawhi that can do kind of a little bit of everything two-way, or do you need someone that can distribute and grab rebounds? And I mean, I would love to see what would happen. I mean, I think when Jordan was playing baseball, Scottie had good numbers.
He did,
but nothing really happened. So
yeah, there wasn't a ton of instant success with the Bulls, but Scottie was putting up some very respectable numbers.
Definitely was. So
he was.
I would love to see what would have happened if MJ maybe never came back or Scottie was on a different team.
Right.
Because I think when you have arguably the greatest player to ever play the game, you're not going to get the same opportunities as Kawhi.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly. I think that's an excellent point, and a huge reason why I agree with you, and I say Kawhi, because of those 2 Finals MVPs. You were the man in a championship winning team.
Yeah.
That's paramount to a lot of other things in the league, and yes, I mean, there's a lot of things that really impressed me when I'm looking at Scottie Pippen's accolades. Like 8-time first team all defense. Kawhi's only 3. He's only done that 3 times.
And 3 out of 10. To be fair, he's been hurt for like 3 of those seasons.
He definitely has. But I'm saying Scottie was consistent. First team is really ridiculous. But I still think you're right. Whenever Kawhi hits big shots like that, he separates himself, because I remember hearing stories and seeing when Scottie didn't want to take the big shot,
right?
And he got upset when they wanted Kukoc to take the shot, and he really kind of just sat on the bench and pouted about it. So I think that speaks a lot to their character in those big moments,
right? And
so I think, as much as I think Scottie, if he was to go to a different team, he would have crazy numbers. I think he could go to a lesser team, average 25, 7 and 7, and be the absolute man.
He had that ability for sure.
Yeah, he had that ability for sure. But at the same time, I think that Kawhi, while he basically proved that he could do that to a lesser degree. I think Scottie could put up better numbers.
Yeah,
but Kawhi had that X factor more than Scottie did for sure.
He definitely had more HEB commercials in San Antonio than Scottie Pippen.
I think his indubitably level was way past what Scottie could bring to the table.
It's like you're part bear.
Yeah, it's like you're part bear. Dang, I miss seeing Manu in the Spurs. HEB
Oh yeah, well
commercials.
it's fun seeing Manu right around San Antonio in his bike.
Oh yeah.
So the Kukoc shot, you're talking about the one that hit the back of the rim and bounced up over the shot clock and went in?
Yes.
Yeah, that was a great shot.
Yeah. Yeah, and Scottie had to feel like a really big idiot because Phil Jackson was right.
Yeah.
He was 100% right. He
Yeah.
was like, dude, they're going to key in on you. Kukoc is probably going to be open. He's been fired this game. We're going to let him take that shot. And then if you're kind of ignoring what your coach is saying and you're pouting about it, then you're not being a good teammate.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, especially in the 90s, in the NBA, like now you see it a little bit more because of social media stuff.
Players are making a lot more than the coaches are
and
now.
Stay tuned for our next episode on that one.
Yeah.
So, and also with Scottie, like he's a phenomenal player, but it's if you just don't have the right mindset. And also, side note, I'm kind of kicking myself for not putting Tony Kukoc in my European players.
Well, he was good, and I feel like he was properly positioned at that role player spot. I don't think that he was really a guy that was going to put up incredible numbers, but I feel like he was also held back by his defensive ability as well. He was a liability. So definitely when you're looking at a guy like Stojakovic or Shrimp, he's definitely behind them.
Cool.
Oh, yeah.
Well, that's what we call bringing it back.
Oh yeah, oh yeah. So yeah, I think we're both in agreement. We would take Kawhi Leonard over Scottie Pippen. You heard it here. So I think that rounds out a good episode.
Yep, absolutely. We'll see you next time.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. So that's gonna be it for the guys over here, the Baseline Bums podcast. I am Rob, aka B-Ball Archives, and I've been with my buddy AJ. And we'll catch you on the next one.
Go Spurs, go.
Go Spurs, go.